He was not the preferred choice of most Conservatives. But on the previous Friday, he had received the King's Commission. Now Winston Churchill was to give his first speech as Prime Minister. It would decide whether he would gain the confidence of the House and a clear run at leading Britain through a long World War II. We are in the preliminary stage of one of the greatest battles in history, he said. I would say to the House, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering. You ask, what is our policy? I will say, it is to wage war by sea, land and air with all our might and with all the strength that God can give us, to wage war against a monstrous tyranny, never surpassed in the dark and lamentable catalogue of human crime. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word: victory. Victory at all costs. Victory in spite of all terror. Victory, however long and hard that road may be. Though there were precedents for the phrase, it came to be known as Churchill's blood, sweat and tears oration. It became a byline for hard work, concentrated effort, the suffering required for any worthwhile task. And it originated, of course, in Christ's passion. Tonight we recall the terrible events of Israel's history. The story of the angel of death smiting the firstborn of Egypt and passing over the Jews. The story of salvation by blood, lamb's blood painted on lintels and the blood of Egyptian oppressors. Tonight we also recall our Christian Passover, the night Christ instituted his precious blood as a permanent memorial of that most dreadful of sacrifices, a human sacrifice, when he would be nailed and hung, suffocating and bleeding to death. How far removed our celebration can seem from all that. Nowadays, the Passover Seder is celebrated in comfy chairs with a chicken wing in place of the rough roast lamb and horseradish cream for the bitter herbs. Nowadays, the Christian Passover is celebrated in grand churches with neatly cut wafers and precious cups, sumptuous vestments and beautiful song. So it must be. Every generation ritualizes and sanitizes, if only to cope with the awesomeness of God and the horror of the dark and lamentable catalogue of human crime. Yet we must be wary lest domestication of the mysteries inclines us to think we've got them all sorted out and under control. Tonight, Jesus borrows an old rite to create a new. He gathers his disciples for the Passover meal. Far from ritualizing it, he abandons all propriety, strips and plays slave to his disciples, washing their feet of the sweat of hard labour. Next, he takes routine bread and wine for the toast and utters strange and portentous words. This is my body. This is my blood. One will betray me. I will be the sacrificial lamb. And as the disciples wrangle over who is the greatest or most loyal, he instructs them on true greatness through self-giving. Tonight, Jesus joins the many whose family meals turn to quarrelling, whose daily grind is like washing dirty feet, who know betrayal by family or friends. He joins those crawling a lonely path to the grave, wondering, will anyone remember me, accompany me, pray with me? Tonight, Jesus joins all those who live in terror of the night. He goes outside into the darkness of the Cathedral Valley to confront the angel of death in Judas and his army. He brings us with him through the valley of death, even to his cross and tomb. And along the way, he sweats from heat, labour, and especially fear. This is a story told in blood. The blood of the temple sacrifices, the precious blood of the Eucharist, the bloody bedlam in Gethsemane, bloody scourging at the pillar, bloody death at Golgotha. It is a story told in sweat, for Luke tells us Jesus sweated great drops of blood in his agony in the garden. There would have been worse in the day that followed. And it is a story told in tears. Peter's tears as he realises his betrayal, the women of Jerusalem's tears as they see Christ taken to his doom, Mary's tears as at the cross her station keeping stood the mournful mother weeping. The blood, sweat and tears of ordinary life are the inks in which the story of this night and day are told. The paints for the truest icon of redemption. If our church is judged as having been too powerful, too comfortable for too long, if its mysteries have been too tamed and controlled, it is now being dragged with Christ through the streets and faces vulnerability, humiliation, even imprisonment. Now our blood, sweat and tears must join Christ's in suffering for long months and years, in a struggle that will engage all our might and God's strength too. A struggle against the monstrous tyranny of sin and death, outside the church and within. A struggle to rebuild our church. It will require our tears like those of the sinful woman who prepared Jesus for burial by washing his feet with her tears. And if that challenge is of more than Churchillian proportions, so is the goal. Victory at all costs, however long and hard the road may be. Yet one will pay all costs. More than all others, the man God who pays with his whole being, body and blood, soul and divinity. The battle for our souls has begun. For our sakes, the King of Kings makes himself our slave, our food. But at the end of our ceremony, there will be no final blessing, no dismissal, for this Passover continues tomorrow. As Jesus is stripped again and made humbler yet, even to accepting death on a cross. This time the washing will not be with water and towels, but with blood, sweat and tears. But dare we hope that at Easter there may be clean water again, and comfort and joy? We'll see.